Howdy, howdy, I am Cole Conley, and if you're seeing me right now, you're probably watching EHCtv on Comcast Cable, or you might be listening to WEHC 90.7 FM, but wherever you're hearing or seeing us, you're happy to be tuned in today, we hope, because our guest is Myra Sims, the athletic director here at Emory and Henry College. Myra, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you on the set. The first thing I want to ask you is, we had a little basketball coaching shakeup, I've heard, but I don't know a whole lot about it, so you get to fill me in here. What's the big news?
Well, Coach Paul Russo stepped down as our men's basketball coach. I actually got his resignation letter during the week of spring break, and we waited to make a public announcement until he was able to meet with the team on the Monday after everybody came back from spring break. So the announcement went public as of Monday. So, you know, it's been a surprise, I know, to the guys on the team and to our staff certainly, but we are already in the mode of looking ahead.
Absolutely. Now, was there a reason given for stepping down?
You know, not really, and I couldn't presume to speak for what was in Coach Russo's head or heart. His letter just said that he was resigning. I know from conversation with him during the season that it was a very tough year for him personally and professionally. You know, the team the previous year had taken what seemed to be a step forward, and then this year kind of went in the other direction. So I know that was very difficult on him. Coaching is a very difficult profession. I think people don't really, if you've not done it, you don't really have an understanding of how tough it is to go through losing and the pressure and the criticism that comes with that from, you know, all kinds of sides. So I know that it was a tough season on him. I knew that he was really struggling during the season, but you know, as to a specific reason or specific thought that was in his head, I couldn't really say.
Sure. Now, the question then becomes, you know, he didn't just leave for, he may have left for personal reasons as well, of course, but he doesn't just leave himself. There's a whole team involved. There's a whole college involved. How have you seen the players taking this news?
Well, you know, I met with the team that Monday after spring break when we came back. He met with the team that morning to inform them that he was leaving, and then I met with the team later that afternoon. And certainly there was still shock, surprise, I think was the main vibe that I picked up from the guys. You know, Coach Russo was, you know, very loyal to the institution and certainly to the men's basketball program. He was an alum, as most folks know, was an alum and had played here as well. So I think the guys were mainly shocked and surprised, I would say. And at the time I met with them as a group, I'm not sure if they all really knew what to think or how to feel about it. But, you know, certainly we've begun the process to move forward, and I hope that that's giving them some positive feeling and some hope to hang on to.
Right. Now, the assistant coaches, Coach Scott and Coach Van Buren, did they stay on as assistant coaches?
Coach Scott was a volunteer,
okay.
So I have spoken with him, and I have, you know, asked him his plans. Obviously, since we weren't paying him, we don't have a lot of say in whether he stays on or not. I know that he's looking for a paid position, and if he finds one, I'm sure he will move on. Coach Van Buren, as the paid assistant, he is staying on for the time being in order to keep the recruiting work going, and then also to help us organize the summer camps. And so for now, he is, you know, definitely staying in his position for the time being.
Speaking of recruiting, does losing the head coach right after the season ends, does that affect recruiting negatively, or how do you think it'll affect everything?
Well, I'm sure it does to some degree. I know that we had a number of prospects who had applied and were in our pipeline. Certainly the uncertainty of not knowing who the head coach is going to be has an effect on that, and that's why I thought it was so important to try to keep Coach Van Buren in place, at least for the next, for a few months, for as long as I can keep him here, to keep that going. You know, as
Sure.
is typically the case, the assistant coach has done a lot of the recruiting anyway and has had a good bit of the contact with the prospects that we do have in the pipeline. So, you know, hopefully his relationship with those prospects will help us keep them interested as we go through the search process, and hopefully name a new head coach quick enough that we can salvage, you know, whatever we may lose during this time, this transition time.
Sure. Now, how about as far as the actual process that you're talking about? What exactly is involved? I know you've been through this several times already in just a short time here already, but what do you think this process is going to take?
Well, it's been overwhelming, I would say, almost the response that we've gotten. Last Tuesday around midday, we posted the job on the NCAA website. Immediately, my email inbox started to blow up with inquiries and applications, and the phone has rung off the hook. As of this morning, I counted, we had 134 applications as of about 10 o'clock this morning. That number has already changed because they are dinging up constantly, and I've got about 10 phone calls to return when I get back down to the office in regard to the job. So there's a great deal of interest, and we already have some really great candidates in the pool, because obviously I'm looking at them as they come in. And so it's going to be a good process, I think, and we'll end up in a positive place. The process will involve a search committee, a couple of other staff members, 2 or 3 other staff members from the athletics department, a couple of guys from the team will be involved on the search committee, and then some folks from outside the athletics department, 1 or 2 faculty staff from outside of athletics, and probably an alum, at least at the end point. The early stages are very, very time consuming, obviously just going through that number of resumes. I won't be surprised if we end up with 200. And so it's very, very time consuming to go through that number of resumes, but we will, with the work of the committee and myself, get that down to a group of, I guess you could say, semifinalists with whom to do phone interviews, probably do 8 to 12 phone interviews with that group, and then narrow down from there to probably 2 or 3 that we would bring onto campus.
Okay. Now, the next thing, switching gears, would be, I know I've seen the posters around campus this week about the new logo that the college is getting, and I'm assuming the athletic logo will change as well. Can you draw it for us now? Can you reveal it beforehand? Or what's it going to be like to integrate that into the stuff that we already have for athletics?
Well, we are getting a new athletics logo, and I can't give you a sneak peek, unfortunately, but I'll tell you that we're very excited about it. I was on the committee that did that work for the new logos, and have also involved our sports information director, Joe Matthews, has been heavily involved. All of our coaching staff had a chance to view some of the early versions and give input, and then we had a focus group with a group of student athletes earlier in the process. And from all that, we've come up with an athletic logo that I'm really happy about, very proud of, and I think that people are really going to like it. It's a very bold, strong, athletic logo with a new design for the WASP, as well as all the letter fonts and different styles, I guess, or forms that we will be able to use from that. So we're very excited about it, and I was telling you before the interview started, we're already talking about how soon can we begin to switch over our GoWasps.com website and do some banners and other things to start to push the logo out into the community, because that's going to be something we really want to get done very quickly.
Awesome. Myra, thank you so much for being on the set today.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you've been listening to the Sports Interview from Emory and Henry Reports on EHCtv. And you can find us on Comcast Cable, channels 70 and 95 on Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7. Thanks for joining me, Cole Conley, for this Sports Interview.